Everyone dreams of living an uncommon life, and the best asset you have to achieve your dreams is you. Welcome to the Uncommon Wealth Podcast. We're going to introduce you to people who are living uncommonly. We're also going to give you some tools and strategies for building wealth and for pursuing an uncommon path that is uniquely right for you.
Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the Uncommon Wealth Podcast, where I'm your host, Phillip Ramsey, and we get to interview people that love their life and are living their own uncommon life. And we have no exceptions today. We have Colton, who loves his life. Colton Sleister, everybody. He's in studio. These are my favorite ones. If you guys have listened for a lot, you know this. But let me give you three things that I think about when I think of Colton, because I know him a little bit, right? Not only do I know him, I've been a customer of his business. So we're going to get into all of this. But here's my three words. I believe Colton is thoughtful. He always asks really good questions, which is a really good quality to have. He's smart. Come on now. That's great. And the last one is he's musical, which makes it perfect segue into your Sleister music. That's what he does. Colton, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here. You have a wonderful home. And I'm
Thank you.
glad to get to join you in this studio here.
Yeah, man. Can't wait to unpack this. So
Yeah.
You started this whole entrepreneurial thing very early. And that's what I kind of wanted to unpack a little bit first. And then we're going to kind of go into all this stuff. But you are a Drake Bulldog through and through. You got your undergraduate, you got your master's from there. And you started your business at what age?
Yeah. So I started Sleister Music in 2013.
Okay.
I was 14 years old. I was a freshman in high school. And I myself had been looking for the next trombone as I auditioned for Allstate, was getting pretty serious, taking private lessons, practicing all the time. And I had a really, really difficult time finding that. And wasn't really happy with the options that I found locally for getting that next level instrument. And I was talking with my father. He's a serial entrepreneur himself. And we realized that there was this opportunity to buy essentially used trombones off of eBay in parts of the year that people were not joining band, maybe January, December, April, and then clean them, have them fixed, and then sell them in the back to school rush. For some background here, everybody who's joining band for the first time in this part of the country, Central Iowa, most of them, they'll start in the month of September. The kids go back to school. They'll get to test the different instruments out, figure out which ones they like the most, and then the ones that were going to play trombone, they would then need to go and get one. Gosh. All of them will actually need to go and get them, but the ones with trombone needs we were particularly interested in because we happened to have 14 used trombones that we were listing. I worked with my fifth grade band director to get our information in front of the students of hers. That's in Ankeny. Shout out to Rachel Urban. You're fantastic.
Come on, Rachel. Yeah. It's great.
And also listed them on Craigslist and sold out, made good money for a high school
14-year-old.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was like 2 summers of detasseling earnings.
Yeah.
And a couple
didn't have to detassel for the record.
Didn't have to touch any corn.
Yes. If you know, you know. You know?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so first off, there's a lot to unpack there. Like your father.
Yes.
Serial entrepreneur.
Yes.
Holy cow, what a blessing that was. So
Yeah.
as you got old, like as you were growing up, you saw that as a blessing because it like shaped who you are. That's something like I always think about, like as these people step off into the old uncommon path, like what are the kids observing? And is it positive or negative?
Yes.
There can be probably both of that. So tell me, what was your dad always entrepreneurial? And then how did you view that being a child? I guess.
Yeah.
And you're 14 years old and you're stepping into business yourself. So like, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah. So some of his bio here, Darren Sleister, that's his name. That's my father and business partner now. And he had a career early on, right after he graduated from university, in the investment world. He worked at a subsidiary of Principal. So he was in international small cap equities. So that was the game he was playing. He did pretty well at it. He was able to then, take the the money from the W-2 job and go into a series of businesses, which include, but probably shouldn't be limited to, I'm probably forgetting some. He owned a car wash. He owned part of a dairy farm with his brother. He's owned apartments, commercial real estate with a partner. He has commercial and residential real estate that he owns. He's done industrial plastic recycling. So those milk jugs, when you put those in the curb, he's been involved with the stream of turning those, not necessarily picking them up, but processing them, turning, the post-consumer plastic, post-industrial plastic into a product that can be, turned back into new
recycled
items.
Yeah. Wow.
So he's done all those things. He now owns half of a music store. And I'm sure there's a few other things.
What did his parents do?
He grew up on a farm. So they were in agriculture. His
kind of entrepreneurial.
Yeah. And I mean, so anyone in ag, and his father, so my grandfather's nickname was Crazy Larry. So he would try different things and was no fan of the orthodox. So
the old uncommon.
So that's maybe how I get the urge to be uncommon. It's probably from him.
Okay. So 14, you step off into the path because you see an opportunity.
Yes.
An opportunity that would serve you and that you didn't have when you were there. So it's going to fill the need that is there. You don't know how big it is.
Yeah.
But after that first 14 trombone thing, you realize we got something here.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to tassel. So things are going well in your world.
Yeah.
And then when did you start scaling that up?
Yeah. Well, it worked so well. I decided, hey, let's do this again. And I took every dollar that we had and I bought more instruments and we cleaned them, we fixed them.
Was that scary or not really when you're 14?
Not really.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
I bet.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was
so
gosh. Good. And we just lather, rinse, repeat, do that for a few years. And then by the time I'm in college, it's hey, this is something that at that point it wasn't early in college necessarily something I could make a living just doing that.
Yeah.
But you get the return on the capital, you reinvest the capital, you don't take the money out and spend it. I was frugal, hated spending money because I could make it into more money.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Colton, I nailed those 3 words. You're thoughtful, you're smart, and you're musical. Let's go.
Yeah.
That seems like I'm pretty good.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So you keep doing it.
I keep doing it.
But now you have to step. So all through high school, you do that.
Yeah.
And so from the freshman year to your 18, so 4 years, started with 14 trombones.
Yeah.
And then what did it grow to in that 4 years?
By the end, it was probably the order of maybe 50 to 100 instruments.
Okay. All right.
My senior year.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, because it would have been my sophomore year was the first, because I sold them in the fall. So I started it, I had year 1 was 14, year 2 was probably 25, and year 3 was probably around 50.
Okay.
I have exact numbers if you want after this.
No, that's okay. That's fine. I think for the listeners, it's good to see scaling.
Yeah.
And again, I think that you did it the right way when a lot of 14-year-olds would be and we're going to go buy more candy.
Yeah.
You were we're going to go buy more instruments because it's working. And it seems like you had your pricing fairly decently priced.
Yeah, we were priced, we would make good money on each instrument, but it was also still pretty competitive because it was me selling instruments out of my
garage.
Home, out of my parents' house, in our dining room on Craigslist.
So good. All right, so now you step into college and realize hey, that's good, but now I have other things I need to study for. I have a lot more plates to spin, if you will.
Yeah.
And so what happened to Sleister Music when that happened, when you stepped into college?
Yeah, I mean, we kept doing it. I mean, the business was basically we buy instruments throughout the year and then we sell them in the fall. So it's a once per year cash conversion sales cycle, which as a business now is that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of retailers don't like to do that. So it's uncommon, unique, but it's also a niche that it's very seasonal, right?
Yeah.
If you have a haunted house, you're not going to probably do it most of the year, but
no, it's similar to haunted house is a good example, or fireworks. Fireworks are the thing, and they still have buildings, and so the cash flow that happens in the peak season is well enough to be able to open and keep that open or keep that building there. Yeah,
so we kept things lean and just growing the pool of instruments, growing our expertise, knowledge, of instruments until 2021, and that was when we realized that this has outgrown the house that we're in. Because I know I didn't take it with me to college, so had I gone out of state, had I gone to Oklahoma or one of the coasts, it probably would have been the end of the business, at least the trajectory that I ended up having here. So that was one reason that was a great fit, me going to Drake University, is that I could, after classes, take the calls, line up appointments to show them instruments, and then if it's on campus or if it's in Ankeny, I could do that. So I have some memories of that right after marching band practice of being sweaty, getting my flip phone out and answering some calls.
Yeah. Business owners.
Yes.
Love it. Okay. And so then that's where we're at now. Like, you've kind of gone through, and now you've obviously graduated college, and now you're doing this full time.
Yeah.
So when you stepped out of your house, did you get like a standalone building?
Yeah. We were looking at a few different properties in Ankeny. Didn't know if this was something that we should say, hey, let's buy a different house and I will live at that house and have most of it be this business.
Right.
And we actually ended up really stumbling across a physician who was retiring, and he had a whole, it was like about 6,700 square feet.
Brilliant.
And my father, business partner, he does real estate, and I'm not sure if he 1031'd into it or not, but he ended up buying the building. Yeah, he leased it to us, so it's a business that he owns part of, but there's also a friend that we have that runs a piano teaching studio that also leased some space. So there's other tenants in the building.
Sure.
And, but we didn't build it ourselves. We just purchased an existing building. Yeah, a pre-owned.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. And then you've now graduated. And at what point in your business did you realize that, like, okay, we have a official business here where I know I'm going to college, but I could step out of college at any moment and jump into this and know that I can be okay?
Yeah, probably midway through college.
15 years old? I don't know.
I'd say when I went into college, I was open to potentially winding down the business if I studied chemistry in college, so I had ambitions to do something that maybe was different than renting, repairing, and selling musical instruments to support the Joy of Music and school band programs. I had scientific dreams. And then just the opportunity was so good, and the people that we worked with seemed to enjoy it so much and had such a good time doing all of the activities that go into the business that like, hey, maybe I'll just keep doing this. I have a chemistry degree, but probably halfway through I realized, okay, I'm probably going to be running this business after college. But I like most college students, I really didn't know. I can say I figured out at this time. I had a hunch, but
you never know.
You never know. Yeah.
It seems like everything in your career is going great. And so I wanted to step back and be like, when is it not going great? So think about that, because I feel like the reason why I love helping people walk through to this uncommon wealth side of things is because people learn so much so quickly.
Yeah.
And you're constantly like trying to figure something new out about your business, or you're learning more about yourself. But at the end of the day, they get an education far bigger than they ever could have purchased. Or even if they would have invested their money into the market and it grows 100 times or even loses all of it, they're not learning much. But that's what I love about this uncommon path and helping people walk through that, is because I get to like have a front row seat of people learning and succeeding and having failures and processing through that. I love that. So let's talk about a time in your business where you were like, oh dear, like this is not going well. Maybe there wasn't. Maybe for you, Colton, you didn't have that, but I have a feeling you did.
Yeah. I think your feelings is correct here. I'll have maybe two things that I'd love to illustrate of things that mistakes we've made, or things that have been hard, because probably what I've illustrated so far is, hey, this seems easy. Let's do this. Yes. Maybe it takes some time, but this is a sure thing. It's not. It takes hard work. Some days are great. Some days are awful.
Burn it to the ground.
Yeah. And you gotta
take the
pick
good
yourself
with the
up.
bad.
Yeah. And you got to keep going. So the first thing that we were pretty lucky to have, pretty good, I'd say, product market fit.
Okay.
Going, right from the very beginning, we sold instruments for a customer we knew existed, because I was that person. So if someone's listening to this and they have an idea, we're like, hey, this thing drives me nuts, and there's all my friends that it drives them nuts too.
Could be an opportunity.
That's what, in the business world we call product market fit. And it's, the opposite of a solution looking for a problem. You have a problem, and you're like, hey, here's the solution. You've got both. Someone will pay you for it. But there have been things that we've done that have not had product market fit. So we at one point were looking at, hey, we have a music store, let's sell other things. Let's sell guitars and drums and that's kind of,
which I see where you would get that.
Yeah,
it's kind of like 1 + 1. Let's go 3.
And a lot of other stores that do that. School band instruments also do that. And we discovered I don't have any expertise there myself. A lot of the people on my team didn't. The customer is also a different person. Yeah. They're not the parent of a student in a school band program. They're someone that likes to play in their church's band. And how you meet those people, it's two different things. And I wasn't nearly as good at it. And as a company, we didn't do nearly as well. And so we invested thousands and thousands of dollars in it, and we sold the inventory for cents on the dollar, and we're happy to be out.
That's right.
So it was
good lesson learned.
Yeah,
good.
And the other thing is managing people. So when I was first doing it, it was just me, my father. We're very tight. We understand each other. But as you grow, you start to have other people on your team. You were telling me about your own situation with this earlier, Phillip.
Yeah.
Things, you have this, people have different styles, and sometimes they mesh well, sometimes they don't. And it's going to, if you're dealing with people, at some point you're going to have people issues. Yes. Probably right away. If you're not dealing with people, that might be the issue, is that you need people. But people are very different. They're not, things in a test tube, they're not computer code.
Yes.
They're very...
emotions are, then you have the history of that person, that they have things and perspectives. It's a whole different ball of wax.
It is. And so that's been something that I've grown with a lot, gotten a lot better at. But, when I first did this, I was a shy minor as a child, a teenager.
Dude, you seem like a very big introvert.
I am
at heart.
Yeah.
But like you mask that so well.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing that I've observed from you, Colton. Early on when I got to know you, I was like, wow, like he really pushes himself in a good way out of his comfort zone. And like that only has probably benefited you in the long run. Like I'm sure there's been times like, ooh, overstep my bounds there. But I think that you've done a really good job of compensating for some of your like introvert ways of you like, I'd rather just not talk to anybody. Write code.
Yeah, and I think chemistry. And I think understanding people, that's not something that I necessarily naturally I look at someone like, oh, this person's feeling this emotion. Maybe they had this kind of day. I don't really read that quickly with it.
Right.
If you give me, a spreadsheet, I can, get there quickly. Or if you, maybe a balance sheet, I can get there quickly. But people are different, and some people have that gift, and I don't. So that's something else I've tried to intentionally practice. You can develop the skill.
You can.
But I wasn't necessarily born with that skill.
So good. You can tell why I'm intrigued.
But I wasn't. I was not born with the skill. I had to learn that.
But you have.
Yeah.
I think you've done a great job.
You can listen to podcasts, and then you try it, and then you get better.
Like my first word for you, thoughtful, asking good questions. I feel like that's such a good way to overcompensate for times that you're like, I don't really know what to say here. Ask questions. People love talking about themselves. It's brilliant. It works. Okay, so those are the two things that you were like, ooh, didn't quite work, or it was harder than I thought. So how many is your team currently?
There are... I have to think here for a second.
That's all right.
I'm going to say 8.
Okay.
Yeah. We have some people that are seasonal.
Yeah. Right.
Part-time, but it's 8 or 9.
Okay.
Somewhere in that range.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me, this is now taking a left turn quick because this is just for Phillip's questions.
Yeah.
What was the time of a nightmare thing when you got an instrument back and you're like, what is this? Like, has there been any of that?
from a student?
Yeah.
Okay. For like something that part of our fleet of instruments that came back. And
Yep.
Honestly, most people take pretty good care of them.
Okay.
But we have some that are just a nightmare. Honestly, it's not really a nightmare for us. It's more so a nightmare for the parent that has to bring it in, because they're usually mortified. They're like, my kid had this, we lost it.
Okay.
It's so embarrassing for them.
Sure.
And for us, it's like, hey, we can replace this. We have lots of these. We see this happen all the time. Some things that look terrible to them aren't really a big deal to us. But sometimes brass, it's a soft metal. It'll break. You can tear it in half.
Yeah.
And some things aren't worth fixing, but it happens. We have a large pool. We can say, hey, we can spread the risk around, and they're this looks so bad. I feel terrible, but we try to make them not worry about that.
It's funny because
there's me dodging your question.
No, it actually is brilliant. It shows you kind of your heart of like, oh, we can replace this stuff instead of like, oh, you're gonna have to take a second mortgage out for that thing. You're not like that, which I think is kind of winsome in that regard. But it was fun when I first met you because I was like, wait a second. I think that we rent from you. And I'm going to bring back such a beautiful instrument for you because my son isn't practicing at all. But one thing I think is really quirky and cool about your business plan is it's a month-to-month rental.
Yeah.
I think that's brilliant. It's brilliant because, one, the kid is just testing it out. And then two, it's just like non-committal, but like you really do, like you can see the heart in that decision is that you want people to learn the instrument and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of times like, no, you need to rent this for 10 months, and like, oh gosh, that's just a big commitment. But for you, it's just a very low barrier entry. Hey, my kid wants to play trumpet. Let's try it. It's month to month if it doesn't work out. He ended up going to the full completion of it and not even going to his last recital, but whatever. Anyway, and then I just brought it back and it was fine. And so I think that's really quirky about your business plan. And I love, and I think a lot of people have to love that too.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's talk about the future.
Okay. The future. Let's talk.
Yes. Sleister music, baby. Going the future. Where is it? What's your opportunities? Where are you seeing things going? Where would you like to grow it?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say in the next 5 to 10 years, our goal is to become the most trusted, most valued, most loved partner for school band programs in the state of Iowa.
Yeah.
Maybe defining that geographically as well. For the getting instruments fixed, renting them, if they are purchasing them, being their partner with that. So we're all in on the school band program and everything that goes on in there. And we're going to be still very focused on that. That's the vision. And so that means we have to have a team that really knows their stuff with fixing them, maintaining them, giving advice on, hey, is this working or not?
Oh, yeah. And it's seasonal. You got to really bulk up on that season.
Yeah, and so it's asset intensive in that regard because we have to have a fleet, but it's also labor intensive on the fixing it. So there's a lot of things that you have to get right, and it's hard. I've been trying to master it, and a couple of years in, we still have not mastered it. We do some things really well, but there's tons of things that we're going to get better and better at. That we have opportunities for growth. Yeah, right. So that's where we're headed. So it'll be the same market, but just doing it better and better. And our intuition is that as we do it better and better, we'll be able to make partnerships with more and more schools, more and more parents like yourself in those schools, and word of mouth, us reaching out to them.
Yeah,
that's the goal.
What do you do for marketing right now?
Yeah, the marketing. I
don't think that you need to. Like, you have a really good reputation in the schools. I mean, there's only one way that we would have got referred to you is because of the music director. Like, hey, go to Sleister Music. Okay. Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, and that's kind of like with that marketing funnel. Usually people just all of a sudden they have a need and they need to fill it right away because they've got to join band for the parents. And so really we can't really reach those people because they don't exist until they go through school testing. So with that, we focus on working with the schools and letting them, hey, we try to make it super easy for a student to join band, have a good quality instrument. We're betting that they're going to do this for the long haul. So, we include all the accessories and things. Those just come with it. It's all inclusive. It's easy. It's simple.
Yes.
Get them in the band room. Then they can do their thing and delight the students, encourage them to practice, lift them up when they're off the path because it's hard. It's a delayed gratification, which is not in vogue.
No, it sure is not.
So most of the marketing is by making relationships with the people in the schools, but then also parents like yourself
making decisions.
Because I'm sure you'll have friends that they're like, hey, where do I go? Maybe my school said this. Maybe they didn't get the letter because their kid didn't bring it home. All these situations exist. So it's a lot of just doing things, delighting our customers, and letting them tell each other, hey, I had a good experience with Sleister, or I had a bad experience. I mean, if that happens, we want to know that too, because then we can stop doing that. But,
for sure.
But we don't really do a whole lot of advertising. On Facebook, maybe some paid search on Google, but it's so
word of mouth,
such a particular thing that you really just have to do a really good job and trust that. Yeah, that's a small window. And make it easy for people to find you and work with you.
Yeah, it's a small window that they actually need to fill that void. It's not like, it's coming up, I got to figure out what to do with college. And then you talk to your friends and like, what do you do for college? It's like 2 weeks, you got to get it done. Okay.
Yeah, and the college is a huge decision. It's 4 years, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. Ours, it's $20, $30, $40 a month. College is way more than that. So
what, were you trombone? You were trombone.
So I was a trombone player.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And that's how you know Vince.
Yeah,
From
I was a student of his.
he's a French horn.
He's a euphonium player. So it's like a mini tuba.
Yeah, that sounds about right with him. That's great. And then have you guys performed together?
Yes, I believe we have.
You have?
Yeah, I think we've played in some trombone choirs or low brass ensembles together. Yeah.
What was your highest level of playing?
Yeah. In college, I played with the top auditioned concert band at Drake. So that was the Wind Symphony under the direction of the magnificent, brilliant Bob Beignet.
Okay.
And we performed. There was a year that we recorded an album. Every 4 years or so, the group will record an album, and that's an experience I had not had before. You're just sitting there, in our performance hall, doing take after take, listening to every single thing, making sure that you sound exactly the way that you need to sound. It's probably the most focused I was in all of college because several days of just sitting there and just recording.
Sounds intense.
Yeah, and then after that, we got to perform at the Iowa Bandmasters Association conference. So that's kind of our industry conference. It's where all of the people that direct bands in schools in the state go. Yeah. And each year, they'll have an elementary, a middle school, a high school group just do a concert just to, hey, here's an exhibit basically.
Yeah.
And we were the college group then, and we played so well. It was one of
nailed it.
Yeah. And I play with a group now called Central Iowa Wind Ensemble. It's fantastic. They've got free concerts open to anyone. They're usually in Franklin Junior High in Des Moines.
Yes.
So it's kind of 4 times a year during the academic year. It's really high level as well. Probably the best that you don't have to pay for. I mean, the Des Moines Symphony is fantastic.
Yeah.
But we're all volunteers or amateurs.
Yeah.
Just that we just love making music, and we want to do it with other people that are want to do it at a really high level.
So they give you the music to practice, and then you go and practice, and then you go perform it, or you just
you rehearse too. We rehearse. Okay. So yeah. So you practice it at home, and then you come, and then in rehearsal you should know your parts already, and you are making them work well together, and then you're. Performance is the performance. So
yeah, let me go back to Bob Beignet.
Yeah. Do you know Bob Beignet?
I don't.
Okay, He's Vince's boss.
Okay,
but they're pretty
egalitarian. Right.
Yeah.
How do I get the respect that whenever somebody says my name, they say the brilliant or whatever you said? Those two before, I was like, whoa, that's what I want to get to. Okay.
Yeah.
the magnificent Phillip Ramsey. I'm just going for something quick.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah. But, I think it comes down to a career of acquiring and sharing expertise in some field. And for him, it was making music.
That's amazing to me. So would everybody who talks about Bob Beignet, would they have an adjective before his name? Maybe not those exact ones, but would they have something?
They would all say they love Bob. Everyone loves Bob.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a consensus.
Wow. Yeah. Good on you, Bob. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
At least I think so. I mean,
so tangent, but I'm like, when you said that, I was like, it's going to be awesome. And it was. Okay. So tell me, in your career, who do you feel like was the biggest mentor for you?
Yeah. I would say my father.
Sure.
So
I thought so too.
Yeah. Yeah. He had 30 years more experience than me at every turn because he's 30 years older than me, and he's run different businesses. He's been involved, especially in the finance strategic side.
Sure.
He's brilliant with those things. And so I've learned so much from him on that, but I think, you can never have too many mentors.
Absolutely.
And over time, you'll learn one thing from one person. You'll learn another thing from another person. I'll learn things from you that I might not learn from my father. So
yeah. I always say mentorship is a cheat code of life.
Yeah.
Okay.
I won't have time to make all the mistakes myself. So
so let tell me what you've done.
Yeah. And especially what hasn't worked, right?
Yes.
If I can just not do those things, I can
be better off.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. So you say that your dad owns 50% of Sleister Music?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there ever any path to start kind of buying it out his ownership, or what's that trajectory?
Hasn't been discussed.
Okay.
Yeah. We have no
plan.
Yeah. I think we're very happy. There's definitely things with a 50-50 partnership that don't happen. But for us, it's usually what we'd say is if we're not both in on something, we don't do it, as opposed to one of us just does it and the other person is like, hey, we need to talk about this. So there's a level of respect that you have to have and consideration for that. And hey, we're going to be more conservative than either one of us probably would by ourselves.
Yeah.
And so there might be some things that we talk about, hey, we need to figure out some way to do this, and we just don't. And if we can't figure out the right way to do it, we don't do it.
No.
Because there's been times that I just got to do this, and that's how you can burn bridges,
quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause problems by trying to, force things that aren't meant to be happening.
Right. And so his half is really the financial part, and then the wisdom of kind of how to run the business.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I'd say the running of it and even the finance part, he's stepped more and more away from that as I've, when I was 14, there's a lot of stuff I didn't know.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot of stuff that I do know that I can do, and he has other things that he, most of his time actually is spent on his real estate ventures.
Okay.
So he's not really at this point, he's not like actively involved with any of the operations of the business. So there is a transitioning of him from, being kind of on the org chart to actually like, in the owner's box, if you will, to use an EOS term.
Yes, I get it.
And so that's where we're at right now.
Okay.
But we're not planning on taking him out of there.
Dude, I just love the story. I love the whole thing. I'm a huge fan, and will continue just to refer people if I ever hear, because I thought I just had a great experience. Even when I took in my kid's trumpet for the last, the employee was really nice. And, she was great. So I think that what you're building and what you have built in the past is like perfect for your three characteristics. I said you're thoughtful, you're smart, and you're musical. So I just want to keep encouraging you. So if our listeners wanted to hear more about you or your business, where would they reach out to you?
Yeah, if they want to learn more about the business, we have some of that history on our website. That's just sleistermusic.com. Hopefully we can put some kind of link to that in the notes here. Is that something you can
do? Yeah.
Fantastic.
We can do that. The team can do that.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy.
You've got people.
Yeah, I got people.
So that, if they want to reach out directly to me, just shoot me an email. That's going to be just sleistermusic@gmail.com, or my cell number. It's 515-402-3412. Hit me up.
Be great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's on the air. It's in public.
It's in public.
It's also on our website, so it's already on the internet.
A million listeners could be calling you at any moment. I don't.
Please reach out. I'd be happy to talk with you.
You're the best.
With whatever capacity that is.
I'll do the best. Well, thank you for not only taking a step into the uncommon, but thank your dad. It's cool to see that partnership, and then him pouring into the next generation in order for you to succeed and thrive, I would say. And I'm a big fan. I hope that all your goals in the future, your 5 and 10 year goals, are not only achieved, but surpassed. Because like I said, I'm rooting for you, man.
Thank you. It means a lot.
Cool. So you've been listening to the Uncommon Wealth Podcast. I've been your host, Phillip Ramsey. Until next time, go live your own uncommon life. Thanks for listening.
That's all for this episode, brought to you by Uncommon Wealth Partners. Be sure to visit uncommonwealth.com to learn more about our services. Don't miss an episode as we introduce you to inspiring people who are actively pursuing an uncommon life.